dinosaurs controlled the Korean Peninsula and the rest of the world 80 million years ago during the Cretaceous epoch. Numerous dinosaur species formerly called the area of the Earth now known as Jeonnam Yeosu their home. The vicious predator of the forest, the Tarbosaurus, is one of them. A juvenile Tarbosaurus by the name of Speckles claims in a monologue that the full moon was the night of his birth. Speckles is a lively and inquisitive youngster who lives with his mother, twin sisters, and elder brother. The family's nest is perched atop a mountain, giving them a good view of the whole forest. They enjoy each other's company when hunting and pursuing herbivorous dinosaur species. However, Speckles hasn't learned how to kill prey yet since he's just a year old. But while hunting, he keeps a record of the methods his elder siblings used to kill their prey. While the other two siblings attack the victim, his older brother runs after it. Speckles is eager to use these strategies across his practice as well. But when the day of his training finally comes, it is the start of a protracted and arduous journey for him into maturity. On that particular day, Mom is prepared to teach Speckles how to kill prey when all of a sudden, the ground under them begins to tremble. It is the outcome of a catastrophic dinosaur stampede that a T-Rex, the strongest predator of them all, initiated. Everyone calls him One Eye, since he is missing one eye. Little Speckles and his siblings begin to flee during the commotion in search of safety, but they soon get divided. While the twin sisters are flung down the cliff, his older brother is crushed to death by several dinosaurs. Mom shows up then as well, although she's a little late. Her 4 kids are all dead except for Speckles. She regrettably doesn't even have time to cry before One Eye strikes her. Mom battles valiantly for a time, but is quickly defeated. She gets thrown down the cliff as a result of the savage Tyrannosaur gaining the upper hand. Before eventually collapsing to her death, she repeatedly bangs on the rocks. Speckles, meanwhile, sobs as he observes his mother's passing from a distance. He is now stranded and without a place to go. He isn't even proficient at hunting. He nonetheless makes a promise to someday get revenge on his family. The young Tarbosaurus may be seen attacking nests and scavenging in the following scene. He snatches an egg from a pterosaur, a flying reptile, and feeds himself to stop starving. But regrettably, the reptile shows up and begins pursuing him. Speckles nearly perishes, but he escapes by jumping into a river. Later, Speckles hears a flock of velociraptors pursuing prey while hiding up in a shed. Small predators known as velociraptors are feared for their quickness and ferocity. Following them covertly, Speckles discovers that the prey has been seized by none other than One Eye the T-Rex. We discover that One Eye has taken over Speckles' residence and is now nesting there in his capacity as king of the forest. Speckles goes inside and tries to take some meat since he is out of food, but One Eye catches him. Fortunately, he avoids being assaulted as he flees. The film then fast-forwards to a later period. Speckles is now 5, but he is still too young to exact revenge for the murder of his family. One Eye is still killing people and ruling the forest in the meanwhile. A fatal conflict between 2 horned dinosaurs breaks out one day. They are battling to establish their dominance over the local women. One of them eventually loses and is expelled from their group. One Eye will have the ideal chance to hunt his victim at this time. He decides to pursue the horned dinosaur, but another enormous predator stops him. These predators' claws are so razor-sharp, they can cut through even bones. But don't expect the T-Rex to give up so easy. He employs cunning and succeeds in tricking the predator into getting his claws caught in a tree. Then One Eye snatches him by the neck and murders him. A scared Speckle is watching all of this from close. After some time, while One Eye is enjoying his recent kill, Blue Eyes, a female Tarbosaurus, arrives out of nowhere and proceeds to take his meal. She swiftly takes off, though, after seeing how aggressive and scary One Eye is. In the meanwhile, Speckles succeeds in robbing One Eye of some food. He is followed by a female Tarbosaurus, and out of compassion, he feeds her some flesh. Blue Eyes also opens up as a result of this thoughtful action, and the two quickly become friends. Together, they hunt and stay alive now. 5 years later, Speckles and Blue Eyes have moved far away from One Eye in the next scene. Speckles pursues the prey as Blue Eyes ambushes it as they hunt together. He picked up this prank from his departed siblings. The two start living happily together and grow attached as a result. One Eye, though, eventually finds their hunting grounds and makes another effort to annex their land. He first assaults Blue Eyes and hurts her. This enrages Speckles, who makes futile efforts to get retribution. He still cannot stand a chance against the strong beast. As a consequence, he makes the decision to look for another route and finally devises a strategy. He doesn't waste time in luring One Eye to a marsh and trapping him there. He begins to gently sink since the earth is so loose. When Speckles and Blue Eyes see this, they rejoice in their success. They had no idea that One Eye was a persistent beast, however. He approaches them from behind, prepared to put an end to them. Thankfully, Speckles and Blue Eyes are able to flee just in time. A few days later, we see that the duo has once again left their area in an effort to get as far away from One Eye as they can. Days of arduous walking go by, but they come across no indication of life. Even Blue Eyes becomes ill and thinks she cannot continue. Speckles notices a large herd of friendly dinosaurs moving at that same moment. He strains to see behind the stony rocks and discover a hot spring. The duo instantly help themselves to the hot spring and lean back in the water, since this was the hope they needed. 10 years later, the two had established themselves in a new forest that is distant from the first. At the age of 20, Speckles is a strong young man. He may kill his victim by effortlessly cornering it. He is also waiting to have blue-eyed children. Unfortunately, their joy is short-lived as the ferocious T-Rex returns one day. He's still committed to finishing out the pair once and for all. While Speckles tries to rescue Blue Eyes, he cleverly tosses a pebble at them from above, sending Blue Eyes flying into the water. One Eye then descends with a resounding growl and launches himself at Blue Eyes. She fights valiantly, but it is in vain. Then One Eye takes her by the neck and prepares to put an end to her. Thankfully, Speckles arrives at this point and protects his wounded partner. He is reminded of the scene of his mother's murder when he sees Blue Eyes on the ground. He thus rallies all his might and tackles the T-Rex because he does not want to see history repeat again. Unexpectedly, he succeeds in throwing One Eye to the ground and forcing him to flee after a taxing fight. This makes Speckles happy since he has finally vanquished his longtime foe. He reclaims his former family's home and hunting grounds after winning. After that, the couple decided to have their eggs hatched there. The process is quite demanding since Blue Eyes must watch after the hatchlings round the clock for a month. Sadly, only 3 of the tiny newborns survive due to the hostile environment. One of the infants has spots all over his body and resembles Speckles in every way. As a result, his parents choose the name Speckles Jr. for him. The Cretaceous epoch is drawing to a close. The atmosphere has changed due to the temperature is rising. The nearby streams of water start to evaporate, and the surroundings continue to grow drier. The majority of the herbivorous dinosaurs are struggling to locate new food. The kids screamed out for assistance one day, but Speckles and Blue Eyes were preoccupied and failed to hear any danger approaching. A powerful earthquake strikes the earth abruptly, forcing the adjacent active volcano to erupt. Huge fireballs are ejected from the volcano and start to burn through the woodland. All the dinosaurs are terrified by this, and they are compelled to leave their home range. Their immediate environment seemed to be disintegrating. Speckles and his family are escaping the tragedy via a shortcut tunnel when all of a sudden, boulders and other debris start to fall from above. Sadly, one of the kids gets struck by a massive rock and instantly dies. Another piece of rubble falls and strikes Blue Eyes in the leg as she reaches for her other children to be saved. She is severely hurt and is unable to even walk. Following this, Speckles and his family escape with other migrating herds of dinosaurs. After 2 weeks of travel, there is still no trace of water or life. All that is left is a huge desert of nothing. The majority of them grow fatigued from the long trek and lack of food and drink, so one by one they start to pass out on the ground. The carcass-eating velociraptors, who often hunt in groups and prey on the weakest, have the ideal chance here. An enormous herbivorous dinosaur suddenly collapses to the ground from fatigue. A flock of velociraptors who are eager to devour their fresh meat quickly surrounds him. Sadly, Blue Eye's leg problems have rendered her unable to walk any longer. Speckles urges his partner to get up since he is aware that she could meet the same end as the herbivorous dinosaur. Blue Eyes gives up since she is unable to stand. Then, she exhorts Speckles to take the kids and flee on his own. The velociraptors decide to attack Blue Eyes next after seeing her in a vulnerable state. Speckles maintains his position and ends up killing a handful of them, but he becomes more and more worn out with each passing second. The situation is made worse when the velociraptors see Speckles' 2 children and chase after them. Blue Eyes weakens to the point that she is unable to breathe in the meantime. She gently shuts her eyes as she bade her family farewell. In the next scene, Speckles laments the loss of his wife. However, he quickly realizes that they do not have long, so he picks up his kids and flees from the velociraptors. He and the kids make it to a safe place and turn around to witness the horrible monsters devour Blue Eyes. Speckles, who is inconsolable, only says, "I'm sorry." The herd eventually receives some relief 2 weeks later. They can make out a vast, productive region in the distance where there is enough food and shelter for everyone. However, the route to the lush oasis is quite perilous. They must traverse a precarious edge that encircles the mountains, and below them stretches an endless deep sea. Despite this, the herd cautiously advances, led by Speckles and his 2 youngsters, in an effort to get to the oasis and begin a new life. From atop a mountain, One Eye may be seen warily observing the herd. A rush of dinosaurs suddenly approaches Speckles and his children as they are going down the narrow road. This brings back memories of Speckles' boyhood, when his brothers were slaughtered in a similar stampede. To his amazement, he runs upon One Eye again, who was displaced by the same natural calamity. Then it is revealed that One Eye has started the stampede, exactly as he did previously, to attack Speckles and his family. Once again, the 2 enormous monsters engage in what proves to be a fierce struggle. One Eye resolves to pursue Speckles' offspring as he begins to lose. Although the latter makes every effort to preserve the children, one of them tragically perishes. With a vengeful rage, Speckles strikes One Eye and knocks him to the ground. But the tough T-Rex gets back up and launches Speckles Jr. over a cliff and into the water. He then starts to corner Speckles in a similar way to how he cornered his mother. The T-Rex is ultimately defeated by our hero, Tarbosaurus, who also succeeds in tossing it down the cliff. He then turns to gaze at his kid, who is still alive and screaming for assistance. He also notices One Eye moving in the direction of the youngster while still alive. Speckles is startled by the scene and leaps into the water to rescue his sole surviving kid. Meanwhile, the young person is seen clinging to submerged wood for dear life. The moment One Eye is going to grasp him, Speckles sneaks up behind the elderly beast and strikes. Once again, the 2 get into a fight and fight for a time, being hurt in the process. We see a pair of water dinosaurs, also known as Tylosaurus, moving in their direction as a result of the blood odor in the water. Due to his son's isolation and vulnerability in the sea, Speckles is aware of this and is concerned about him. He ultimately defeats One Eye, and throws him off to the Tarbosaurus during a protracted battle in the water. The savage T-Rex is therefore ultimately put to death. After some time, Speckles rejoins his son and moves in the direction of the far-off oasis. Despite the difficult and lengthy route, he is unwilling to give up. Sadly, after a while, his eyes begin to weary and ultimately shut. In the following scene, we find out that the father and son team managed to reach the beach just when it seemed as if they had been slain. When Speckles hears his kid frantically begging for him while he is still comatose on the beach, he opens his eyes. Speckles ends the speech by wishing his kid a pleasant, happy life in this new, beautiful jungle.